Number 3, we are going to start discussion over DC and AC bridges. So under the other module number 3, two components we are going to discuss: the AC DC bridges. So which is primarily meant for the DC measurement. That means the measurement of your physical measuring device mechanism. It can be a physical parameter, it can be an electrical parameter like voltage or current, or it can be a physical parameter. Bridges have a various application, or it is one of the component which has a wide range of applications, you can say, under the head of signal conditioning devices. So that means primarily when you have a sensing device and when you have a signal conditioning device. So normally in today's scenario, whatever sensors you are using, like even in your smartphone, why it is called smartphone? Because it is fetched with so many smart sensing devices and the additional software which is capable to use certain level of or basic level of artificial intelligence also. That's why it is called a smartphone. Okay, in today's generation, if you see. Now, when you talk about those sensors, so it has a two steps within the same IC, or I could say film. The first one is the sensing part, which is primarily called the micro machining part, and the next part is the electronics part, which is called the microelectronics or nanoelectronics. So primarily we call MEMS or name sensor depending on the dimension and the size of the sensor. Okay, so it can be of a millimeter size, it can be of a microns range, it can be of a nanometer range. Accordingly, obviously the physics changes. Okay. So when you connect the sensing part, that is the micro machining part, with the microelectronics part, for example, if I will take the example of microns range or MEMS sensor, in that case, MEMS means micro electromechanical system. Okay, so those things works at the dimension of 10 to minus 6. So when you talk about those kind of mechanisms, so in that case you consider a bridge which is primarily used to interface between the signal conditioning device and the micro machining part or the sensing part or the measurement part, or in other words you can say that the bridge is typically used as the primary filter also, or the first stage of the signal conditioning device. You consider any signal conditioning device, bridge is typically at the first stage, and if it is an industry application, more or less it's a mandate. So in this uh, module of lectures, in this series of lectures, we will see the measurement of inductances, measurement of capacitances, measurement of resistances. Okay, then the low resistance measurement, high resistance measurement, and so on. So clear. So measurement of earth resistance, and so these things we are supposed to discuss in the under the head of module number 3. Yeah. Okay. Now, as usual, you have two textbooks, but here the purpose of highlighting is that for this module, you refer the Helfrich Cooper or the reference book, probably that Purkayat Biswas will be quite good. So many of the content I have taken from that particular book. So you have two primary choices: either use Helfrich Cooper or the Purkayat Biswas. Yeah, both are the good books. As usual, the NPTEL side, I would always advise that go through some very fantastic lectures available. So to gain additional knowledge, you can refer the NPTEL side, which is obviously free of cost to you. So here we go. So as I said that as far as the bridges are concerned, what can be the possible applications? Okay. So as I said that in sensing phenomena, this is one application. The other application could be that depending on the type of a bridge, whether it is AC bridge or the DC bridge. So AC bridge means what? It is actually your measurement is dependent on frequency, right? The operation is based on the frequency. So you are considering a particular frequency based on the inductive effect or the reactive effect. Okay, reactances or the inductances. So DC bridge means what? Primarily it's a resistance, okay, because it's a free from frequency ideally. So obviously you cannot measure any inductance or capacitance. So obviously it's a resistance type. Yeah, resistance resistance. Or in other words, you can say that for the purpose of measurement of resistance. Okay. So this Wheatstone bridge, primarily the widest application is that it is used as the pre-filter. That means the first stage, though the intermediate stage or final stage filter is dedicated application. So we already study the passive filter design under the head of network theory, and those things you can capitalize and you can use here. Fine. On the contrary to that, the Wheatstone bridge for the DC measurement, you can use it as a pre-filter device, because the beauty of this circuit is that the two input, like if for example how we are going to connect. So here we have provided the source, right? So there what we are going to supposed to provide the inputs. So where you are going to feed the inputs, two input end where the source is right now connected, these will be connected from the sensing part. Clear? So it is a two port output, the sensing part. So output port of the sensing mechanism is the input port of the this particular bridge. That means the signal conditioning device, first stage of the signal conditioning device. Yeah. So otherwise, if it is not, if you just want to see the application of the bridge or the measurement of resistance, then directly you provide the source, it will still. And then the two end we have connected through the D'Arsonval galvanometer, through which we can measure the resistance. Why you connect this? To measure the null moment. Okay, null type basically moment you are going to measure, so that you can check the balancing condition, whether the moment you are going to consider the sensing mechanism, or the moment where you are going to measure the unknown resistances, at that time balancing condition was applied or not. It is very very important that the bridge should always establish the balancing condition before you are going to start measuring it. Clear? Otherwise it may lead to the unwanted errors. Now, for our understanding, anyhow, let's say I will take the one bottom one. There are four resistances you mentioned: PQ, R, and S. Where I would say that RS is some variable type. Okay, both the diagrams have the two different approach. You can adopt any diagram you consider. So if you consider the bottom one, so you can see that the current I1, the at point A, the current is being separated, is being divided, fine, into two parts, I1 and I2. Now, if if it is so, in that case, the amount of current, and if we have achieved the balancing condition, that means balancing condition, that means what? Through the galvanometer, if it is a balancing condition is established, that means no more current will flow. It will achieve the zero desired conditions. Okay, great. So if it is so, and in that scenario, you will say that the magnitude of I1 and I3 should be equal. Similarly, the magnitude of I2 and I4 should be equal. Yeah, let's see. So if you supposed to go over the measurement, so I would say that from the previous reference, that I1 into P is the amount of resistance, the magnitude of resistance, and I2 into R. Okay, so these two should be equal, because we are assuming that the magnitude of current of I1 and I2 are equal. Okay, now once the balancing condition has been achieved, as I said, that the I1 and I3 should be equal, right? And I2 and I4 should be equal, right? So in that case, the magnitude of I1 is how much? So the electromotive force is E. So it is E into P upon total resistance. So in the path, when it will travel from A to C through B, the total resistance is P plus Q. So you apply the voltage divider rule, and when you will apply the voltage divider, or you can say that potential divider rule, so it is P upon P plus Q into E, and that should be equal to R upon R plus S into E. Okay, do the permutation combinations. What combination you got? P into S is equal to R into Q. So from here it is very easy to remember as far as the final statement is concerned. Okay, the front facing, multiply with the front facing resistance. So P into S is equal to R into Q. Okay, so from there you know that if R is the unknown resistance or S is the unknown resistance, whatever it is, okay, whichever term you have considered is the unknown resistance. Okay, so in this demonstration we consider that R is the unknown resistance. Okay, so in that case the value of R is equal to P upon Q into S, because rest of the three things are known, where remember S is a variable resistance. Okay, so what do you mean by variable resistance? So basically, for example, in place of S, you apply a strain gauge. Okay, so just Google, you will get the idea. Okay, so what is the strain gauge? So it is one of the wide range of mechanical sensor. Now the smart sensor is also available, strain gauges in form of the films also, not the mechanical one. That is the old age theory, when which is used for the measurement of pressure, measurement of displacement, measurement of force. Okay, so for all these things, so we apply a strain gauge, which is basically active sensor. So with respect to strain gauge, you are giving a actual input of the field, okay, of the that particular field sensing value. Okay? So that when magnitude is also known, and once the value of S is known, you can find out the value of R. So that is the balancing condition. So there are some other demonstrations, like this is the typical demonstration what you see in the left hand side in the figure A. Okay, and in this demonstration you see we consider all four are the active arms. Remember, in this typical demonstrations we consider only one active arm, where in the top of the figure R3 is the active arm, which is a variable resistance. In the bottom figure S is a active arm, which is called okay, I mean the input is given. What do you mean by active arm? The input is fed from the real measurement, real field measurement. Okay, from where you are sensing that particular data. Yeah. Now, and assuming that whenever you are going to converging, feeding it, it is in the electrical form. Clear? Mostly is the voltage. Okay. So now, whatever the dimensions you are giving, clear, whatever the inputs you are giving over here. So in this case, if you want to improve the sensitivity of the bridge, what you need to do, if you want to improve the sensitivity of the bridge, in this case I would advise that find out the sensitivity of the bridge considering only one active arm. Okay, then if you consider the two, or if you consider the four, like in this scenario you have given in this figure, what will happen? Sensitivity will improve by the two times or the four times as compared to one. Okay. So the one arm give you the poorest result. Two active arm give you the double improved sensitivity, and the four arm give you even better sensitivity. Yeah, because that denominator you check, it is keep on reducing. Okay, in one arm it is 1 by 4, in two arm it is 1 by 2, and in three arm, sorry, four arm, not three. Okay, it should be the four. It will be 1 exactly. Okay, otherwise if E is the input electromotive force, in one arm it is E by 4, in two arm it is E by 2, and in four arm active bridges it is into E. So your sensitivity is improved by 400 times, you can see. Okay? 400% of margin. Figure B is showing nothing, but it is the typical arrangement. It is not necessary that all the time you will see in real life scenario, the bridge will be configured or will be implemented in this fashion only as you see in the figure number A. It is also possible that to configure the same bridge in number of as shown in figure B. So I put it just for your information. Okay, otherwise many times students got confused. If you see the actually the circuit connection is both are the exactly same, and for these couple of slides I have opted from the Carl Hoffman, who is basically the original author of the book. Yeah. So elementary circuit and applications using strain gauge, like this case I talk about. Yeah. So you see the full bridge, or you see the half bridge combination, or you see the quarter bridge combination. Yeah. So in this case, what happened? The external circuit. That means external circuit is the it is the additional circuit which is used to interconnect with the present network, or the completion network, what it is called. Yeah, where you are pursuing your measurement. So sometimes it is necessary that you need to externally connected the bridges, okay, which is the old age fashion. Now we do not use this kind of scenario. So normally sometimes in the restricted fashion you may see the half bridge or maybe the quarterly bridge configuration, and whenever you talk about the smart sensors, these things are gone. Okay, so these different versions are never being used. All are being capitalized to that the same sensing phenomena over the same circuit. Yeah. Maximally, the quarterly bridge can be utilized. Some other applications, like I would suggest you that to revisit with certain kind of measurement or the applications of the Wheatstone bridge. So take it as an assignment question that write down the applications of the Wheatstone bridges. You don't require to uh, explain in detail. If you want, you just write down some basic mathematics and the applications. Okay? So do the research and try to find out the different applications of the Wheatstone bridge, okay, which is primarily used for the measurement of resistance, okay, or the DC bridges. That's why it is called a DC bridge. Okay? So the tensor bar arrangement, like in this figure you see, so it is basically utilized based on the measurement is based on the variation of the epsilon. Yeah. So, so you see now the epsilon is basically a constant once the material is constant. Okay, so uh, we use because the bar is arranged in the tensor form in the longitudinal form, and accordingly gauges are arranged. Okay, so both the form of longitudinal and the lateral arrangement both are possible. So in this case, how the arrangement is influencing the measurement of the strain gauge, sorry, measurement of the resistance or a DC bridge in form of the strain gauges. That particular configuration is shown over here. Here. So there are numerable applications. I would suggest that go through the books and try to gather as many as applications. Yeah. At least write down the two applications. Okay. So now we are coming upon to the AC bridges, where these AC bridges are used for the measurement of unknown inductance or measurement of unknown capacitance, or maybe some physical parameter where the output of that particular physical parameter is converted in form of the inductances or in form of the capacitances. Okay, so remember, these change in resistance or inductance or capacitance are nothing but these are the parametric values. Okay, so change in the parameters, so it is called the parametric values. Okay, so originally whatever sensor is used, it senses in the absolute form. Okay, but your electrical measurement cannot understand the values in the absolute form. It needs some relative results. So that's why you always measure change in resistance, change in inductance, change in capacitance. Okay, remember RLC can be a constant, but delta R, delta C, delta L cannot be a constant. It is always a relative change in the magnitude. Okay, so which is you are going to measure. So once you measure that change in resistance in case of DC bridges, or change in inductance or change in capacitance in case of AC bridges, then it is converged to the equivalent values of the voltage either in form of delta V or in form of the delta I. That means change in voltage or change in current depending on the type of measurement and the kind of output you are wanted for. Okay, so for these cases, we use these kind of inductors as a capacitance bridges. Okay, so remember, condition will be still same. You will pursue the measurement only when the balancing condition is being applied. That balancing detector is being applied, or in other words, you can say the, say for example, you used a galvanometer, so it is being used. Okay, so most common is can be a the, at old age it is the vibration galvanometer. Now the tuning detectors are used. Okay, for the various frequency, power frequency is 50 hertz, you know. Low audio frequency range, it can be even in the 1 kilohertz range. So typical variation can be detector can vary from 5 kilohertz to 1 kilohertz. Okay, even you can go for the headphones, or that means basically signal is a audio signal. Okay, is a voice. So audio signal or voice. Okay, so it can be a voice or speech or audio, you can say. So then in that case, depending on application, your range can be vary from 3 to 4 kilohertz, or to even a higher side. If it is audio, it is from the 15 kilohertz to 20 kilohertz. Yeah, so there are numerable applications where you are required to use. But before that, what we try to see today, that how we have achieved that particular balancing condition. So you know that the method is still same as what we discussed in the DC bridges. Only in case of his AC bridges rather than resistance, here we are going to supposed to consider the impedances, right? And when you talk about impedances, obviously it has a two part. So it is one resistance and always which is depending on the frequency. So if you first apply the Cartesian form, or then we see the phasor form also. So if you apply the Cartesian form, you know, say for example, if we assume as shown in this particular figure, say for example, the amount of voltage across the Z1 is V1, amount of voltage drop across appearing across the Z2, Z3, Z4 are the V2, V3, V4 respectively. In that case, the value of V1 and V2 or V3 and V4 may not be same, but across the 360-degree phase, okay, across the 360-degree phase, the variation, that means the average variation of the DC value, sorry, average variation in the V1 within the time frame between 0 to t will be the same as the variation in the V2. Okay, yeah, that means in the average variation of the instantaneous value of V1 and V2. That's why this cap is of V1 cap is mentioned or V2 cap is mentioned. That is one way to show. So if you are adopting this kind of symbolic representation, then you have to also use I1 and Z1. So because it will also vary with time, okay, because it is a frequency dependent component. Remember. So at balancing condition, what will happen? Obviously, this detector or galvanometer will detect no current because no current will flow through the detector. So that means you have achieved the balancing condition, and in that case, you apply your theory. So in that case, as if you consider this particular figure, I1 should be equal to I3 and I2 should be equal to I4. And in that case, the value of I1 is equal to how much? So it is the total voltage is V is shown in figure. So it is V cap upon Z1 plus Z3, and similarly I2 and I4 you will get your V upon Z2 plus Z4, right? Now this is the value of I2. When I2 will flow through the Z2, so the amount of voltage drop across V2, okay, that is equal to V upon Z1, V into Z1 upon Z1 plus Z3, and in this case of your I3, I4, it is actually V upon Z2 upon Z4, V upon Z2 plus Z4, I'm sorry, into Z2. Now you have simply apply the potential divider rule, nothing else. Okay, the voltage divider rule what you got. So simplify this equation. So ultimately what you will get, again the same thing, you see, you check that what I have shown in your DC analogy, the front facing multiply the product of, you can directly achieve the front facing impedances, that is Z1 into Z4 equal to Z2 into Z3 as shown in this particular figure, okay, of the book, or in other words Z1 upon Z3, okay, Z1 upon Z3 should be equal to Z2 upon Z4. So that is in the you have applied. Okay, if you rather than impedances, but if the admittance is available, obviously your Z is equal to 1 by Y. So your equation will remain same. Y1 into Y4 should be equal to Y2, Y4 at the balancing condition. And out of these four, whichever is unknown, you can use that particular resistance for the measurement purpose. So if Z2 is unknown, so I would say that Z2 is equal to how much it is Z1 upon Z3 into Z. So accordingly, you can find it. Now let us say the polar form. We have seen in the Cartesian form, you see the in polar form. So in polar form, obviously your uh, uh, Z cap is divided in two form, magnitude and the phase angle. So it is Z at an angle theta. So accordingly, you can transform all the impedances Z1, Z2, Z4, Z4, Z2, Z3, Z4, Z. Okay. So if you will separate at the balancing condition, your magnitude condition is now separate. That is Z1 into Z4 is equal to Z2 into Z3. Okay. This condition should be made, and at the same time, the phase angle, that is your theta, angle of theta plus theta 4 should be equal to angle of theta 2 plus theta 3. So this both the conditions should be made whenever you are going to apply the balancing condition for the AC bridges. Okay, that means for the purpose of measurement of unknown value of capacitances and unknown value of inductances. Yeah. Say, consider one example. Um, try to solve over here only with practice, as a practice problem. In the AC bridge circuit, as shown in this figure, Okay, so you consider figure 6.1, that means consider this figure only. So the supply voltage is 20 volt at 500 hertz. The arm AB is consist of 0.25 microfarad pure capacitance, arm AB from here. Z1 is equal to replace by 0.25 microfarad capacitance. Arm BD is replaced by 400 ohm pure resistance. Okay, you can see over here. Okay, BD is this one. That means the Z3. Okay, Z2 is your Z2 is our AC. Okay, so AC has a 120 ohm resistance. Okay, in parallel with 0.15 microfarad capacitance. So there is a it is a parallel tuning circuit AC. Okay, PD is a pure resistance, AB is a pure capacitance. Find resistance and inductances. Okay, resistance and inductances or capacitance of the arm CD, whatever you will be supposed to achieve, considering it as a series circuit. Yeah. Okay. So your CD is an unknown thing, so you have to find out those values. So AB is already given. Okay, it is a pure capacitance. So can you find out the value of Z1? Yes. So Z1 is equal to, if it is a pure capacitance, so it is 1 upon omega C1. Substitute the value. Frequency of operation is given. At the supply is operating at 500 hertz. Substitute the value of C1. So you will get the value of Z1. Yeah. So with respect to this, if the value of C1 is this, so impedance will be around 1.27 kilo ohm. Since it is a pure capacitant, it is shown. So the complex notations will be shown as 1273 at an angle minus 90 degree. So obviously it is lagging, because in that case current is lagging. Okay. Okay. Impedance BD, it is a pure resistive bridge. So we will straight away write 400 at an angle 0 degree in terms of polar form. Okay, impedance AC bridge, 120 ohm resistance is connected in parallel with 0.15 microfarad capacitance as shown in problem. So as I told you, it is a parallel RC circuit. Okay, so simplify it. This statement, substitute the value, and you just check these values. Don't consider it blindly. As per calculation, you should get around 119.8. Okay, at an angle minus 3.2 degree ohm. Now, in balancing condition, you know that Z1, Z4 should be equal to Z2, Z3. Z4 is unknown. So, Z4 value is equal to Z2 upon Z1 into Z3. So, the substitute these values with the value of Z4, you are getting 37.65. Remember, phase is positive. Okay. So, what do you mean by phase is positive? So, that means this is basically leading part. Okay. So, this indication is given if the phase is positive. So, obviously, the positive angle of the impedance indicates that the branch consists of a series combination of resistance and inductance. Because if negative angle you might have get, then it could have been capacitance. Okay, and remember in this problem it is already mentioned. Okay, that they find resistance and inductance or capacitance. Yeah. So remember this. Huh? So the positive angle you are getting, and you know that it is a inductance. So resistance you can mention over here the resistance of the unknown branch R4, so that you can get the by the cos phi value, and the inductance is actually the Q factor, right? So R4 is equal to 37.65 cos at an angle 86.8 degree. So substitute these values, you are getting exactly 2.1 ohm. Whereas if it is a inductance, so it is sine 86.8, you just take and you will get around 37.59 degree, right? I think if you will take square of root mean square of the RMS value of R 2.1 and 37.59, you will reach to the same regions. Just check. Yeah, you can just cross check. And the inductances value is obviously you the substitute the value of x4 upon um, uh, f omega. So that is how much? Yeah, that means j omega L. So L is equal to x4 upon your j omega is 2 pi into 500 hertz. So you are getting 11.97. Just check these magnitudes. Okay, these calculations. There may be a slight modifications. not, then that is fine. So that is the end of the today's session, and then in continuation, in the next lecture we will start with the Maxwell bridge. The first we will consider the measurement of inductances, and we will continue our discussion in the next lecture on Monday in the scheduled time. Okay. Till then, thank you. If you have no other question, with this I am stop recording over here also, and